If Red Dead Redemption 3 is set to explore the height of the Wild West, one particular character would be perfect as the prequel's protagonist, and Rockstar has already created the protagonist. In this video, I have brought you the news in detail. Make sure you stick with me to the end so you don't miss any part of the gist. Without further ado, let's get into it. Who is the already created perfect protagonist for Red Dead Redemption 3? Many fans have debated who should be the protagonist of the inevitable Red Dead Redemption 3, but Rockstar Games already introduced the perfect protagonist in a previous title. The open-world Wild West franchise has gradually moved backward in time, with Red Dead Redemption 2 being a direct prequel to the first game that sheds light on the backstories of multiple characters. While every fan has theories about the plot and setting of Red Dead Redemption 3, the ideal gunslinging protagonist has already made an appearance. While Red Dead Redemption 2 was a prequel to the first game, a third entry in the franchise doesn't necessarily need to follow suit. Many fans had instead expressed interest in a direct sequel that explored the lives of characters introduced in the second game, perhaps right before or even during the first Red Dead Redemption. Charles Smith would be a fascinating figure to follow, for example, with the character's African American and Native American descent opening the door for unique stories after he escaped to Canada in Red Dead Redemption 2. Other fans have expressed interest in a Red Dead Redemption 3 following Sadie Adler, with the female gunslinger fleeing to South America following the events of the second game. If Red Dead Redemption 3 does serve as yet another prequel, however, Landon Ricketts would make an ideal protagonist for the game. Introduced as a legendary yet aging gunslinger in the original Red Dead Redemption, Ricketts played a central role in protagonist John Marston's trip to Mexico. Ricketts has shooting skills equal to or even greater than Marston, with a quick lesson unlocking a new level of the game's signature Deadeye targeting ability. Throughout the open-world franchise, Ricketts was frequently mentioned in passing, reflecting his status as a legend of the American frontier and a noble vigilante. Next, discuss how Red Dead Redemption 3 can explore Landon Ricketts' early adventures. If Red Dead Redemption 3 is a prequel, exploring Landon Ricketts' early life would be an ideal way to cap off the entire Red Dead Redemption saga. The series keeps moving backward, starting with the death of the Old West and then exploring its dying years, so Red Dead Redemption 3 can finally portray the epic golden years of the American frontier. Landon Ricketts is a mythic cowboy, and it would be amazing if fans could play a direct role in forging that legend through their in-game actions. Ricketts is also meant to be a much more moral figure than John Marston or Arthur Morgan, leading to a more focused narrative without an emphasis on morality choices. Many fans have suggested that Rockstar Games could bring Red Harlow back in Red Dead Redemption 3, but Landon Ricketts is already set up as the perfect protagonist. The legendary gunslinger would be a perfect playable character for the golden age of the Wild West, given his mythic reputation and unmatched shooting ability. Ricketts also has ties to other Red Dead characters and events, having been present for the Blackwater massacre that kicked off RDR2. By following the adventures of a young Landon Ricketts, Red Dead Redemption 3 can explore the height of the American frontier and bring the aging cowboy's story full circle. Next up, Red Dead Redemption needs a TV adaptation. Do you agree with this? Rockstar Games' Red Dead Redemption has the chance to reach a whole new audience with the popularity of TV westerns and video game adaptations. What do you think? Is there a chance? There was a time when adapting a video game into a movie or TV show was a dicey prospect. However, more recent efforts such as Netflix's soon-to-be returning The Witcher, Castlevania, and Arcane have begun to inspire hope. The trailer for HBO's adaptation of The Last of Us also debuted to strong acclaim, further strengthening the argument that video game adaptations have reached a new plateau. Indeed, all signs point to hope for gamers looking to see their favorite properties be adapted into binge-worthy TV series. But for video game adaptations to truly be taken seriously, there needs to be one that draws in viewers who've never picked up a controller. The answer lies in one of Rockstar's most popular games, Red Dead Redemption. Red Dead Redemption's narrative is defined by three core themes: redemption, revenge, and resistance. John Marston's arc is driven by his desire to redeem himself of his past. The idea of revenge looms over John for the whole story, going on to consume Jack following his father's death, and resistance ties directly into the consistency in which the characters of Red Dead Redemption attempt to resist the change they see in their world and others. Despite being defined by these three themes, the prospect of change ultimately connects them in the context of Red Dead Redemption. John Marston wants to change. His life cannot change, and the world needs to change, but change is only good when it makes things better, said Bonnie McFarlane. Miss McFarlane's early game quote is quite important, as it is through this piece of dialogue that Red Dead Redemption's narrative makes its major construct known. The Old West is dying. Change cannot occur without consequence. Red Dead Redemption's story took place a single year before the end of the American frontier's territorial expansion. Like the old conceptual West, John Marston was a relic of the past that the changing times will not accept. By the time the story begins, John has already been a changed man for years. The dramatic irony of John's arc is that he likewise sentenced himself to death by hunting down his former gang members. Edgar Ross is working on behalf of the government to usher in smoother change, which demands Dutch's gang be eliminated. A member of Dutch's gang himself, and one who, over a year, murdered countless men on behalf of Ross's orders, John is the next BOI's natural next target. John Marston is the last remnant of the old America and needs to die as a result. Of course, what is particularly tragic about John's ultimate fate is that he did change. Red Dead Redemption's missions are less violent and more grounded than before. The missions allow the audience to decompress after the dissolution of Dutch's gang and give context for where John is in his life. He is barred from removing his rancher outfit. The story has no overarching plot anymore, and John's main interactions are friendly ones with his family. He perfectly assimilates into what America the government was attempting to create. The first proper entry, which is the 2010's Red Dead Redemption, was a spiritual successor to Revolver, but followed a new character, a former outlaw turned rancher, John Marston. What about the next Red Dead Redemption? Well, 2018's Red Dead Redemption 2 was a prequel, jumping back 12 years and following Marston's associate Arthur Morgan as he and his fellow outlaws grappled with an industrialized world slowly edging people like them out of history. The stories of both Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2 touched on complex, heavy themes like the cost of violence, the blurred line between right and wrong, and the relentless persistence of change. The franchise was also a saga of family, from Marston's struggle to save his wife and son to Arthur's inability to keep his own found family of outlaws from coming apart. The plot of both games were filled with twists, revelations, unexpected alliances, and heartbreaking sacrifices, all hallmarks of compelling television. In addition, the open world was richly detailed and teeming with a wide range of characters, each with their own stories and agendas. Who wouldn't love to see fully realized versions of the muddy cow town of Valentine or the foggy streets of Saint Denis? The Western genre has been enjoying a strong revival on television, thanks to the success of shows like Yellowstone, its prequel 1883, and Emily Blunt's new limited series, The English. Newer shows like the recently premiered Walker Independence prove that interest is only growing. A Red Dead Redemption adaptation is the perfect opportunity to strike when the Western and video game irons are hot.
On a trip, avoid the illness that's plaguing the county. He's never run away from anything in his life. At least that's the way he tells it. And now this. Mabel?
Its layered plotting, fleshed-out characters, and lavish, abundant landscapes all cry out for someone to bring them to life. Red Dead Redemption revitalized the Western for video games by taking the open-world concept of Grand Theft Auto and bringing it to a genre that many gamers had paid little attention to. 8 years later, its sequel pushed everything from the first game to a higher level, from graphics to gameplay to a story that could stand up against some of Hollywood's best. As video games continue to transition to television, there's no reason for this franchise not to be on the shortlist. That concludes today's video. If you found the video helpful, please consider giving us a thumbs up, and don't forget to share the video with your friends and family. See you next time.